In the last chapter we saw, Ariadne opened her eyes and glanced about, knowing that she was at her childhood home. She observed her little hands and saw her reflection in the mirror. Surprised, she comprehended that she had gone back in time and was witnessing her younger self. It struck her as bizarre and odd to be living in her history after her death. Examining her picture in the mirror, she saw that she never had a mole beneath her eye. Just then, a lady appeared and shouted at her, telling her that she was a low-born girl like her mother and not to admire herself like a noblewoman. Ariadne, observing all of this, resolved to defend herself this time if she was actually back in her past. She was determined not to allow anyone to take advantage of her again. Meanwhile, Ariadne was told by another lady who soon approached her that there was someone from the castle there, and they claimed to be there to take her away. Ariadne examined the scenario and recognized that it must have been the day when her father had taken her in. Ariadne continued to explain that Cardinal de Mere, although being a priest, had a wife and children, as was typical for clergy at that age. Although he couldn't have a wife officially, he continued a connection with a high-born woman named Lucrezia, who acted as his de facto wife. Their 3 children, born out of wedlock, were considered as lawful offspring. Among them, Isabella was the middle child and was recognized as the beautiful lady in the city, becoming a source of pride for the cardinal. On the other hand, Ariadne, who was born to a maid and the cardinal, was an illegitimate child, but owing to her mother's low-born rank, she was sent away from the cardinal's residence and resided on a farm. Ariadne approached the cardinal and welcomed him cordially, conveying her excitement at seeing him again after a long absence, and wished for his good health. The cardinal reciprocated the welcome, demonstrating his joy at her attendance despite her lack of formal learning. Internally, Ariadne liked the shallow phrases of fatherly caring. Ariadne humbly realized that she had a long way to go and would continue to try and learn, hoping to avoid bringing dishonor upon her family. The cardinal reacted by adding that such expectations were only fair. Lucrezia intervened, noting that a woman's virtue resides not in study and self-improvement, but in serving her parents and siblings as a young virgin, and subsequently serving and taking care of her husband as a mature woman. She encouraged Ariadne to focus on improving her laddie-like features instead of dabbling in matters outside her sphere. Ariadne mused about how she used to respect Lucrezia as an attractive noblewoman, but now realized her actual vulgar personality. She recognized that her father valued maintaining the appearance of a happy family, which would make it easier to humble Lucrezia. Ariadne, bowing before Lucrezia, obediently responded that she would strive to be the best daughter she could be. Lucrezia then suggested that Ariadne address her as mother instead, to which Ariadne thanked her and complied. Just then, Isabella arrived and apologized for her late arrival. Ariadne fell silent upon hearing her voice. Isabella greeted Ariadne as a dear sister, welcoming her back to the family and offering her assistance. Ariadne turned around and exclaimed, "Isabella!" She thought about how she always looked up to Isabella as her beautiful and perfect older sister, admiring her like the sun in the sky, and longing to become close to her. However, Isabella's actions constantly made her feel small and caused her to withdraw into herself. Ultimately, Ariadne realized that Isabella had betrayed her with a gleeful smile. In her anger, Ariadne vowed not to let her life end in tragedy, as it had before. Isabella, addressing Ariadne, acknowledged their sisterhood and gave Ariadne permission to call her sister if she wished. Ariadne expresses her gratitude with a false smile. Then Cardinal Joy expressed his delight at seeing his family united once more. He expressed his pleasure and deed. Subsequently, everyone descended the stairs. In the meantime, Lucrezia addressed Ariadne, instructing her to behave herself while under their roof and making it clear that she should comply. Ariadne, contemplating, thought to herself that she hadn't even done anything yet and that she was only just getting started. Just then, another young girl, who is the third sister named Arabella, shouted at Ariadne, expressing her disbelief and refusing to accept her as her sister. She belittled Ariadne, calling her a common farm wench and emphasizing that she knew about her mother's lowly status as a maid. Ariadne remained silent, but thought to herself that in her previous life she would have endured such childish tantrums silently. However, now she knew exactly how to silence Arabella. Arabella, speaking to the other girl, expressed her sorrow over what she witnessed earlier, noting that it seemed their parents only had eyes for Isabella. However, in anger, the girl snapped back, telling Ariadne to shut her mouth and claiming that she knew nothing about their family. She then pushed Isabella off the stairs. Startled by the noise, the cardinal shouted, demanding to know what was happening and who was responsible for the incident. Arabella, their third daughter, speaking up, claimed that it wasn't her fault and struggled to come up with an explanation. But then Arabella accused Ariadne, stating that she was the one who pushed Isabella. The cardinal, addressing Ariadne, expressed his disappointment, questioning how she could cause such a commotion shortly after returning home. However, Ariadne apologized to her father for causing a scene and expressed her concern that Isabella had hurt herself while trying to help her. She explained that Isabella had fallen down the stairs during the incident. She further mentioned that Arabella had pushed her, causing the accident. Upon hearing this, the cardinal appeared angry, while Arabella vehemently denied the accusation, stating that she hadn't done anything wrong. Arabella claimed that Isabella wasn't attempting to help Ariadne either, and was simply present at the scene. Ariadne, however, asserted that despite her lack of high education, she knew better than to lie. Arabella suggested that their father inquire about the truth directly from Isabella. Isabella hesitated for a moment, and then stammered, privately thinking that it was time to reveal her true nature. Isabella, with a forced smile, defended Arabella by stating that she had been only playing and should not be punished. Ariadne, skeptical of Isabella's words, thought to herself that Isabella was seizing the opportunity to play the role of a kind older sister to a half-sister who was being bullied. Isabella responded by telling her to be more careful in the future. In response to the situation, the cardinal decided to punish Arabella by confining her to her room for 2 weeks, providing her with only bread and water for sustenance while praying each day. Arabella pleaded with her father, insisting that she was innocent, but the cardinal increased her punishment to 3 weeks due to her perceived backtalk. The cardinal called out for Lucrezia, questioning her whereabouts and expressing dissatisfaction with her influence on the children. Ariadne contemplated that this situation might be easier than she initially anticipated. The next day, Isabella was seen arguing with her father. She refused to marry the man he had chosen for her, stating that there were rumors about his illegitimate birth. Isabella expressed her concerns about the impact it would have on their family's reputation and her own aspirations of becoming a highly esteemed lady as the wife of a mere count. The cardinal acknowledged the rumors, mentioning that Lord Caesar, despite being officially recognized as the cousin of the crown prince, was, in fact, the king's illegitimate son. Isabella's mother, Lucrezia, intervened and made it clear that she had no intention of allowing her daughter to marry a bastard. She suggested that Ariadne, their daughter born out of wedlock and currently working on a farm, could be considered for the betrothal instead. The cardinal, intrigued by the suggestion, questioned Ariadne's suitability for such an arrangement. Lucrezia reminded him that Ariadne was the daughter he had fathered with her former maid and was currently employed doing odd jobs on a farm. The cardinal, contemplating the idea, smiled and said, "Ariadne indeed." The scene shifts to Ariadne, who is seen reading a book and contemplating her situation. She reflects on the possibility of this being her previous life and the mistakes she cannot repeat. She ponders how to prevent her betrothal to Caesar, considering the options of marrying someone else or becoming rich and running away. However, she realizes that her family would not allow her to marry who she wants, and acquiring wealth is only realistically possible for a nobleman. Ariadne continues her thoughts, acknowledging that there may not be a happy ending to this story where Caesar falls in love with her and they live happily ever after. She has become cynical about such sweet fairy tales and desires for Caesar to face consequences for his actions. Then, Ariadne's maid, Miletta, enters her room with a change of clothes and informs her that she should dress and join her family at the dinner table. Ariana recognizes Mileta as Isabella's personal maid. Ariana comments on Mileta being busy, implying that she should be helping her get dressed. Mileta responds, stating that Ariana is not a child and should be capable of dressing herself like an adult. Ariana retorts. Then Mileta mentions that she didn't have a maid dressing her down on the farm. Mileta, thinking to herself, comments on Ariana's arrogance as a farm girl. In response, Ariana slaps Mileta and warns her not to be impudent. Mileta, outraged, points out that Ariana was born to a peasant maid herself and is no different from the rest of them. She further expresses that the cardinal, being an orphan and a clergyman, is not a real nobleman. Ariana, as the daughter of a cardinal, is no more special than the commoners. Then Mileta continues speaking, suggesting that if the cardinal takes a liking to her, her child would be equal to Ariana. Ariana slaps Mileta again, causing the servant to fall to the ground, and warns her not to insult her father or display jealousy. Mileta begins crying at Ariana and tells her to leave. Mileta leaves the room in tears. Ariana reflects on the fact that Mileta isn't entirely wrong. Everything she is ultimately comes from her father. However, she has sworn not to allow a man to control her life again. To become independent, she must cultivate her own power and find an ally. The door opens, and Lucrezia enters, accompanied by Mileta and Isabella. Lucrezia, in anger, asks Ariana, how dare she raise her hand against a member of the household? Mileta, while crying, explains that she was tidying Ariana's clothes when she was suddenly hit. Ariana, looking at Mileta, thinks of herself, calling her a wicked girl, and realizing there's no end to her terrible temperament. She then bows before her mother and explains that she had to defend Lucrezia and her father's honor when she heard Mileta insulting them. Lucrezia is shocked and asks Ariana to explain. Ariana responds, saying that Mileta had the audacity to suggest that her father should be ashamed of raising a group of illegitimate bastards. Lucrezia and Isabella are both shocked to hear this. Ariana continues, expressing her disbelief at the idea of her sisters being considered legitimate children worthy of nobility. Lucrezia, glaring at Mileta in anger and trembling with fear, denies Ariana's claim, stating that she only meant that Ariana is not on the same level as her sisters. Ariana revealed that Mileta claimed their father was of common stock, while Isabella and Arabella inherited their mother's noble blood, making them noble ladies. Ariana realizes that Lucrezia might agree with what she said, but due to the delicate matter of Cardinal Demir's bloodline, she won't be able to turn a blind eye. Ariana then discloses another piece of information shared by Mileta, stating that if Mileta were to earn her father's favor and bear his child, that child would have the same status as Ariana, negating the need for Mileta to treat her as her superior. Amidst this conversation, Mileta, who is trembling in fear, pleads for Lady Lucrezia's belief in her innocence. However, Lucrezia, in anger, grabs Mileta's hair and accuses her of covering her husband. She demands that Mileta be given 10 lashes. Mileta pleads desperately for mercy, begging Lady Lucrezia to believe her. She cries out, but Lucrezia remains firm in her decision. Ariana bows before her mother and apologizes for losing her composure, taking the blame for the incident. To atone for her behavior, she suggests banishing herself to Rambula's shelter for 3 days. Lucrezia questions Ariana's decision, considering it to be too severe. Isabella, however, interjects and proposes that 5 days would be even better for Ariana's penitence. Ariana agrees, acknowledging that a longer retreat at the shelter would provide more time for her atonement. The next day, Ariana and Mileta arrive at Rambula's shelter in a carriage. As they step out of the carriage, they witness a chaotic atmosphere with many deceased individuals lying on the ground. Ariana, unfazed, thinks to herself that Rambula's shelter is just as she expected and expresses her satisfaction. Ariana, feeling pleased with the surroundings, concludes that it is the perfect place to hatch her plan. Ariana explains to herself that Queen Margaret, the wife of King Leo, originally founded Rambula's shelter to assist the poor. However, the resources allocated to the shelter were insufficient to help the countless poor in the kingdom, resulting in many peasants entering the shelter and never returning alive. As Ariana enters the shelter, she notices Miletta's heightened fear and inwardly rejoices, finding her even more fearful than expected. She then taunts Miletta, mentioning that Isabella, her dear sister, won't be present to protect her during her 5-day stay. Ariana expresses regret that Isabella didn't speak up on Miletta's behalf when their mother ordered the whipping, suggesting that Miletta wouldn't bear the scars on her back if she had. Ariana, feigning sympathy, mockingly refers to Miletta as a poor thing, provoking her anger as Miletta turns her face away. Ariana contemplates heading towards where the rest of the peasants are, as her purpose in bringing Miletta there is to ensure her complete subservience. As Ariana approaches the area where the dying peasants are kept, she thinks to herself that they ought to be somewhere nearby. She remembers that this is where she is located. Just as Ariana starts to move in that direction, she hears a voice from behind calling her sister. Ariana, pleased to turn around, excitedly comments, referring to her as the devil. Then, facing Miletta, Ariana asks if she sees the little girl with red hair, just like Miletta's. Miletta, frightened, asks what Ariana means. Ariana places her hand on Miletta's mouth and menacingly explains that she is referring to Miletta's little sister. She tells Miletta that if she doesn't obey her commands, she will leave her to rot in the shelter, allowing her and her sister to be reunited to wither away and die hand in hand. Miletta, in a panicked state, apologizes and pleads for forgiveness, stating that it was all her fault. Ariana, thinking about Miletta, observes that she seems terrified enough to wet herself, but questions if Miletta is implying that she has been lying. Ariana grabs Miletta's neck and demands an answer, exerting pressure. Meanwhile, Isabella intervenes, stating that she can only take one of the girls and asking which one is smarter and more hardworking. One of the girls replies, explaining that they have been together since they were babies and promising to work twice as hard, begging not to be separated. The other girl adds that she should be chosen because her sister, Sanche, is frail and prone to petty thievery. Isabella acknowledges the ambitious girl and decides that she will be coming with her. The chosen girl pledges her unwavering service. The other girl, holding her sister's hair, urges her to stay quiet and promises to return to rescue her once she earns enough money. She emphasizes the need for one of them to succeed so they both have a chance at a better life. As the other girl says Miletta's name, Ariana snaps out of her thoughts, and Miletta asks if she is all right as she froze up as if she had seen a ghost. Ariana contemplates what she just witnessed, questioning if it was a hallucination or a vision of their past. Determined to find out, Ariana decides that she must see for herself. Ariana proceeds to ask her how she feels, to which the girl is confused. Ariana then directly questions her about whether she has an older sister working for a wealthy household and if her sister told her that one of them must succeed for both to have a chance at a better life. The girl, taken aback, asks how Ariana knew about it. Ariana realizes that the vision she had was indeed true. Ariana thanks the girl and advises her to take care of herself. However, the girl pleads with Ariana not to leave and begs her to allow her to speak with her sister once more. She explains that she hasn't heard from her sister since she left for work and desperately wants to communicate with her. Ariana questions the girl, surprised that her sister never contacted her after leaving. The girl, with her hands clasped, confirms that this is the first time she has seen her sister since she left, but expresses joy that her sister finally came back to see her. Ariana probes further and asks if she never received any help from her sister. The girl stutters in response, implying that her sister never sought assistance. Ariana then turns to Miletta and asks if it's true that she doesn't know who this girl is. Miletta confirms that she has never seen her before in her life. At this point, the girl grabs Ariana's foot, pleading for help and desperately begging to be free from the situation. She pleads with Ariana to assist her in escaping. Ariana instructs Miletta to fetch the shelter manager. 2 days later, Ariana, sitting beneath a tree, expresses her hunger and then contemplates her situation. She approaches a man and asks him to provide the girl with more food. However, the man explains that they cannot afford any special treatment, even if Ariana is the daughter of someone important. Understanding the situation, Ariadne decides to forego her own meals for the day and give them to the girl instead. She expresses her sadness, realizing that she initially planned to provide the girl with only 1 day's worth of meals, but it has already been 3 days. Ariadne sits beneath the tree, pondering the vision she witnessed earlier. It appeared to be a fragment of Mileta's memories, but she hasn't been able to replicate the experience by touching Mileta again. Ariadne contemplates the source of her power and wonders where these visions come from, and there seems to be more to it than just physical contact. In the midst of her thoughts, a boy approaches Ariadne and offers her an apple. As she looks at him, memories of her past life resurface, recalling the time when she and Caesar conspired together to kill Prince Alfonso. The boy standing before her is none other than Prince Alfonso himself.